Helen Keller is a very strong author, disability advocate, political activist, and overall just a really good inspiration for many people. This is a photo that I have of Helen Keller when she was 80 years old. She was born in 1880 in Alabama, and she was a very healthy girl growing up. It wasn't until she was 19 months old that she fell very ill. It's not sure what she had that made her feel so sick, but it is believed that it could have been scarlet fever, as that was very common during that time. She recovered well, but she was left blind and deaf. Growing up, her parents weren't sure how they could deal with a disabled child, and due to this, they weren't able to raise her properly. She grew up very wild and untamed, as she wasn't able to express her emotions to people, and she wasn't able to explain how she was feeling. She couldn't put her thoughts into words. This changed when she met Anne Sullivan, who graduated from a blind school. She herself dealt with many vision issues, which she experienced later in her life as well. It got worse because she was the interpreter between Helen and other people. Anyways, she met her and she found out that her parents spoiled her a lot. And within a week of meeting them, she demanded that they go off into the cottage that they had nearby where they could be secluded. And they stayed here for 2 weeks, where Anne would sign words into Helen every day. Anne wanted to raise Helen to be slightly more disciplined and to not have her way with everyone. She would sign words into Helen's hand, and Helen would sign the words back, but she didn't understand what it meant. She wasn't able to correlate it with an object. And this was until she was able to correlate it with her first word, which was water. And this was because Anne brought her over to the well and pushed water on her hand, and she realized that the liquid that was touching her hand was water. This correlation clicked, and even in that day, she was able to learn 30 words. When she was 10 years old, she decided that she wanted to learn how to start talking and communicating with others through her mouth. She went to a school and she was able to learn how to communicate orally. However, a lot of people were not able to understand what she was saying, so it wasn't very often that she did speak. But she was a very strong author. She wrote The Story of My Life in 1903, and she wrote about topics correlating to her faith, to her struggles growing up being both blind and deaf, her very strong opinions on women's rights and what women were able to do. And she also wrote a bunch about birth control. She was given a very strong global platform in order to become an advocate for other people in different regions with not only vision impairments, but also deaf impairments. As in terms of her travel, she was able to create commissions for blind people, and rehabilitation centers were also built. Another strong thing that she did do as a result of her travels is she was able to create more education accessibilities to people who were blind, including more Braille systems, more teachings, all of that. Later in her life, she was able to meet a bunch of presidents. She met John F. Kennedy, she met Franklin Roosevelt, she also even met Eisenhower, as well as a bunch of other celebrities like Charlie Chaplin. Anne, her guider, she died in 1936, and Helen herself suffered a stroke where she decided to just settle down after that in Connecticut, where she lived. Some fun facts about Helen was that she had very strong views of socialism, to the point where the FBI had kept tabs on her just in case they ever felt that she was starting to become a threat to the state. She was also able to fly a plane, obviously not by herself. She had the assistants, and she was more of just guiding the crew. So that's pretty cool. And she's also visited over 35 other countries where she was able to make a difference for blind and deaf people all around the world. She did die in 1968, but she does remain to be one of the many inspirations to countless people across the world who have to deal with so many different sorts of disabilities. This is one more photo of Helen. Thank you.